Welcome to Aging Gracefully. I want you to live a long, healthy life without regrets. Today is a very special show. Let's call this Aging Gracefully by the Decade. And today I have 4 friends joining me here to talk about what's it like to be 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. So welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And we'll start with introductions with the young one first, right?
Okay.
Okay. So Jennifer Lee, also called Jen, Coach Jen.
That's another one.
50 years old this last summer, right? Just a few months ago. So Jen, you and I are, for one thing, theater companions.
We are.
Yes, we go to the theater down at Playhouse Square all the time and catch as many events as we can in the wintertime. But why don't you say a little bit of like what you do, because you and I work very much in the same capacity.
Yes, we are specializing in senior fitness. So anywhere, Kathryn specializes in yoga predominantly, but she's also strength and fitness and balance, and I do strength and fitness and balance as well, and I also do water aerobics, but we both really specialize in special populations.
All right, thank you. Well, I am the 60-year-old of the group. So, yes, I teach strength and balance and yoga. I'm a health coach. I'm a functional aging specialist. And my oldest friends are my best friends, right? So, let's move on to Lynn. Lynn Morway. You just turned 70 a couple weeks ago.
Yes, that's true. And I practice yoga, and I am retired after 30 years working for the Department of Defense. I was fortunate enough to be able to retire early and have enjoyed that since my 50s. So,
Wonderful. So you are, well, I see you frequently. You are one of my students with both strength and balance and yoga. So I probably see you as much or more than any other student. And my gosh, you work hard. Super hard at getting strong and staying strong.
I've seen the benefits of both, and yes, I feel it's very important.
Good. And Ellie. Elena Deanna, we call you Ellie.
Right.
You're 81 years old.
Correct.
And boy, do I have a story. So this is how I know Ellie is 81, because I asked her to go kayaking with me sometime, and she texted me, because yes, she texts, and said, hey, how about tonight, you want to go kayaking? Like, yeah, that's great. Something like that. We worked it out. And so we're out rowing, enjoying, and I said, how old are you anyway, Ellie? And she said, 81. And I said, I looked behind her, right? What? What? I thought you were closer to my age.
That's close enough.
Yeah, it hasn't mattered at all in our relationship, not at all.
No.
So you are also a strength and balance student with the Bay Village class.
Correct. And I take other classes at the French Creek Y, Zumba. I tried Tebow. I'm concerned about balance there, so I backed off on that. And since I retired a year ago, tried to fill myself with my time with activities, and I started bridge again, which I hadn't done in years. And I'm trying to think, there are some other things. I just keep trying and trying to fill my time until it's too full now.
So let's go back to, you retired a year ago?
1 year ago, yeah.
At 80.
Yes.
Go ahead, tell that story. Where did you work?
Oh, I worked for Delta Airlines as a flight attendant. It is the greatest job in the world. I only retired because there were just so many changes taking place that, not that I couldn't handle, I didn't want to do them anymore. All the constant training and computer work. I just want to go there, fly enjoy the layover. I miss it, I really do.
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of fun on the layovers. And I'm still in touch with a lot of my flight attendant friends. And
Oh, I bet.
they send me pictures, they email and say, wish you were here. And I almost wish they wouldn't do it because it makes me sad that I'm not there. So, but I'm filling my time.
So that is an amazing story as well. All right. And now we're at Marielda. So you two being sisters, this is really how I got to know you.
Right.
And you like the Mexican
Train.
train
Play that.
domino
Mexican
game.
Train Dominoes. Play that on
Yes.
Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And thanks to Elena, that's how I have the pearls. When she had Asian flights, so she brought me,
Oh.
that's what I got from her for Christmas one year. All of us, all my sisters and daughter, sisters-in-law. And I do water exercise 3 times a week. And I do move it or lose it exercises, floor exercises, twice a week. So I think you just have to keep moving. I don't give age a thought. Like I have a sinus infection now. And it didn't occur to me, I'm 90 years old, it's time to slow down a little bit. But
Maybe
I don't,
not.
that's not my nature to do nothing,
Well, I love that about you. And I love being able to see you once a week there in Bay Village. So we finish up our class and then there you are for your social time and having fun with the games. So I think that's great. And we also are a fan of Mary Beth Ions. I know she
yes.
won't mind if I mention her because she's actually been on this show too. She's a violinist and so super popular.
I see her about once a month at least.
Yeah.
I listen to her. I go to one of her performances someplace once a month.
She's worth traveling for.
Oh, yes.
So, well, I have this whole list of questions. I'm sure we won't be able to get through all of them, but let's get started. I'm wondering if one of you feels like this is your favorite decade ever, or you want to talk about what your favorite decade will be or was.
I'll start. I would say I'm only 2 months into my 50s, but so I have to talk about the latter part of my 40s. I absolutely love being this age. I've learned to be comfortable with who I am and not worry so much about what other people are going to think. I'm actually comfortable for the first time in my own skin. And I feel a sense of empowerment with that. Like I'm very proud to be a woman and I'm proud to be aging and I just feel really great about it. So I would say definitely where I'm at right now, it's my favorite.
I would agree with that. I'm happier now than I ever have been, and I feel good. I don't feel 70. It's just a number. And I'm looking forward to these next 10 years, this next decade, continuing to do the gardening I love and staying physical.
You relate to it too, Ellie?
Yeah, well, I think differently. I don't feel that I have a favorite. I'm always looking forward to the next, but I felt each decade was unique in its own. It was a different stage in my life, as a teenager, then as a new bride. I loved being a housewife and mother, and as my children were growing up, the activities with them. So each decade had its own joys and pleasures. So I don't have a favorite. I just like each one as it comes.
Right?
Yeah, I like most of the decades of my life, but I'm enjoying now, not worrying about things. I think, well, I made it this far. I made it to 90. What do I care what happens or comes out? I'll just keep going until whatever, till the end. That's all. Just enjoy everything I'm doing. I have a bad reputation in my apartment building of going too much, and being out all the time, but I enjoy it, and so I just go with it.
That makes me wonder, don't you think that we kind of have to fight what people think a certain age looks like?
Absolutely.
There we go. People are saying to you, you're doing too much. People say that to me also. So I think that this is part of what I love about you ladies, and that what I really wanted to show too is that our culture needs to kind of take a new look at what aging can be like. And we can redefine that at any time. We don't have to feel like it's a decline. It's just a
It's
continuation.
not a decline, yeah. Definitely not a decline.
And I certainly feel wiser than I did when I was younger. Would you ladies
Absolutely.
agree?
I think younger people, I'd say people in up to their 20s, have a different outlook on age. They look at us as if, well, I went to buy an appliance, and the young clerk was a male, and he was on a cell phone on a personal call, and I could tell by the conversation it was a personal call, and he turned his back to me. So I walked around the other side of the counter and just kept staring at him. I thought, I'll make him uncomfortable and then he'll wait on me. So he turned the other way. And I thought, you just lost a good sale. But, you know, it's, if you're older, they look at you differently.
You feel a sense of disrespect?
I
or-
think so. I think so. With some, not all.
Yes, not all. Because definitely there are some younger people that are so respectful and appreciative.
Overly helpful too. They say, you know, oh my goodness, she looks like she's an old lady, and they try to help me down the stairs or something.
So, would you say if you could go back and talk to your younger version of yourself, would you give yourself some advice of what it would be like, something you should or shouldn't do?
I think the only thing I would tell myself is don't settle for things as much as I did. You know, if I wanted a certain thing, and not always material, a certain situation, if I couldn't attain it, I would settle for second best. And I had a friend one time, I was purchasing something, and I said, well, that's not really what I want. I'll take this. And she looked at me and she said, don't settle if it's not what you want. And I think back throughout my life, I settled for things. Not that it made a big difference in my life, but definitely would not just settle for
Very
things.
true. I feel the same way. I always thought, well, this will work or this will do, and settled all the time, yeah, always. And now I think back and think I shouldn't have rushed into something. I should have given it more thought. And but
That's the wisdom, right? That
right,
comes
that
in
comes with age,
as we're aging.
or should.
Would you say that there's been surprises through the aging process, things that you were not prepared for, and whether it was a good or a bad?
I would say I was surprised in my 50s how my weight shifted and how I always used to have a waist, and not anymore. I just didn't expect it that, at least not that young.
Even as hard as you work and work out, it's still
Like it's
a
not
challenge.
under your control always where your weight goes.
All right.
Yeah.
I think too, having to be more aware of the micronutrients, your iron, your B12, your D3. I've never thought about those kind of things, and paying a lot more attention to what I'm putting in my mouth as far as nutrition and what I need from that. And then the other thing would be hairs that are growing in certain places, and like, what is happening here? Like, you know,
We don't know
that's
what you're
been a little
talking
bit of a
about.
shock. So I'm just entering that part of it.
Oh, my granddaughter loved plucking my chin hairs. She just loved it. But you know, I was surprised at my physical changes, that I can't walk. Walking used to be one of my main hobbies, and I loved walking in the rain. And now I was so surprised to find that I can't walk as far as I once did, and without pain. And that was a big change, because I thought I exercised, I swam, I belonged to health clubs most of my adult life, and I didn't ever expect that to happen to me. I thought no limitations, but age tells you that you do have some limitations, at least at 90.
And I bet Jen would agree, the same thing with me, that when we have injuries, it makes us better teachers because we can appreciate more of what our students are going through. We can be more compassionate. We can also say, here's what I did, you know, to help.
That does help when someone understands. Yeah.
I think I saw my balance start to take a hit too as I got older. I was surprised, but I've been turning that around now with the yoga.
Yeah, we practice that a lot.
Yeah.
We practice working on our feet a lot and our balance as well.
I think Jen is correct when you talked about the nutrition focus that we have that our parents didn't have at all. And I think a lot of it is the media that we are bombarded with. We have to sift it out, but we are so aware of that now that we are living longer. And I can see my grandchildren living to be over 100 because they're so aware of eating well, eating good nutrition, and eliminating bad things, bad habits of fast food and things like that. So I can see the change because my parents certainly would not have reached this age in such good physical shape. And I see it happening in my children and my grandchildren. So I do see 100 or better coming.
But we have so much information now that they didn't have. You know, there's so much on television and in print and so forth that our parents never had access to.
Of course, we have the internet now.
That too.
Right.
There's so much information, and doctors give you so much more information than they once did. I think they used to have the attitude that they're the doctor, they know. They have the knowledge and we don't need it, just whatever they tell us, that's what we should accept. And I think it's a lot different now. They give you information that doctors once didn't, so that's a big help in
And I
living
think
life.
too, you have access to it, you know, the mobile
Right.
apps where you can actually look
Yes.
at your records now
Yes.
and keep track of that. And I think that's really empowering.
Yep, I agree. So how about fears about aging? Anybody have any fears or a worst fear?
The worst fear is dementia now, or Alzheimer's. I don't know what the difference is, but that's the worst fear. But I always try to think and put a different thought in my mind when I start thinking, especially if I see someone, I live in a senior building, and I see someone that's having difficulty like that. And I think, well, is that going to be me someday? And then I think I've made it to 90. Why worry about it now? That used to be a
Exactly
concern.
that's my fear.
Your fear too?
Becoming infirmed in some capacity and having to move into a nursing home and being cared for. And I think that's common probably with any one of us.
Well, I can agree that's my worst fear.
Yeah.
Any,
Losing mobility and independence, yeah.
right. To not be independent, but also just to lose your memory.
Right.
It's just an awful.
It is terrible. I've seen a man in our building goes to visit his wife every day, all day, feeds her and everything. She doesn't know who he is or anything. So that's my fear. But like I said, I try to put a different thought in my mind when I start thinking negatively like that.
Yeah, and what a great thing to follow that up with, that you really do work hard on being a positive thinker.
It's hard work sometimes.
It is for everybody, I'm sure, sometimes. All right, here's a just kind of fun question. I'm looking at the hair, right? And what, have you ever colored?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I just stopped this spring
Oh.
because I think because of age, it doesn't take the color like it used to. It tends to fade quickly, and to me it looks like straw instead of nice brown. And I think I had asked one of the stylists one time, and she said, you know, the gray hair does not absorb the coloring the way it did when you were younger, and it didn't last as long. So I'm experimenting. I'm waiting to see what this looks like when it grows out
All
fully.
right. Lynn.
I did for a couple of years when it was changing, because it didn't change in a nice way.
Really?
But as
'Cause
soon
it's
as,
so beautifully white now.
well, it had more of a streak at the front initially.
Cruella
So-
type.
Yeah, kind of. No, I haven't for many years. I stopped after 2-3 years.
I myself have played with hair color since I was probably 15 years old. I love hair color. I've never gone into the blues and that, but I've been rather purpley, deep red, deep red, very dark and very light. I'm somewhere in between right now.
It looks very
So
good.
I like
I
that.
can't really see me letting go of hair coloring anytime soon, that's for sure. I did try for a little bit to see what it looked like naturally, and I thought, oh, that's so boring. And I went right back to coloring.
I just recently went silver, as you remember,
That's
and I
right.
really liked it a lot.
It looked great on her.
And
It
I
looked
had
pretty
a
on her.
lot of compliments. Unfortunately, because I teach water classes, the chlorine and the silver hair coloring
Oh,
did not have a nice relationship.
Was it turning green?
Yes, it was. And I had to put a toner on it once a week. So it was more, ended up being more work
Yeah.
than it was worth. But I'm looking forward to not having to color my hair.
well, that's what I'm waiting for. See that? I'm hoping it all turns out silver
It
like
will
that.
be beautiful.
If it comes out that way, but we'll
It's nice
see.
not having to go through that.
Yes.
Well, look at Marielda's. She's got a beautiful color.
But I used to color mine all the time because
you?
I had a deal with my neighbor. She was a beautician. So I babysat for her once a week, and she would color my hair. But I went to have my hair. I thought, I want to see what I look like blonde. And the beautician said, I'm not coloring your hair. She liked the color it is. But it's so curly, I can never do a style. I love style, straight hair.
Oh my
but,
gosh. Wouldn't we give anything to
Right.
have this hair that doesn't have to be styled?
No, it doesn't that, but I'd like a change, and I straightened it by wetting it and brushing it the other day, but by evening it was all curled up again, so.
But her
too
hair
humid
never
around
used to be
here.
naturally
No,
curly.
Really?
It wasn't curly. I said, the years that I worked, I would put those rollers with the brushes in them and sleep on them. It was so painful.
Didn't we all do that?
Yeah, and then as I got older, it started kinking up, and then it started waving, and now it's all curls. I don't know what it's going to look like if I live to be 100. I'll have a natural white afro.
That
Excuse
looks
me.
great. Well, speaking of that, if you live to be 100, do you have a goal age to live toward? Do any of you have a goal age?
No, I don't. I just, as long as I'm able to take care of myself and have all my senses, it doesn't matter to me. But I don't have any fear of death. I don't want to go through the dying process, but I don't have any fear of it. So when it happens, it happens. I just don't want to be a burden to anybody. I don't want
Yeah.
anybody to take care of me.
Yeah.
I don't have a number. I just want to make sure, I'm really looking forward to being a grandmother someday when the time comes. And I just want to make sure that I'm around for that. So that's,
For some reason, 86 has always stuck in my mind as it would be
Wow.
good to live at least until 86. But beyond that, it's like you say, it's how long do you feel good, and
Yeah,
is life worth living?
that's it. Is life worth living?
No, I don't have a goal like everybody else. As long as I'm mobile and healthy, I'll keep going.
I have this thing about 104. I've always said I'm going to live to be 104. Now, you know, there are certain days you think,
Will I make it till tomorrow?
yeah, right. If the next 10 years is going to be this painful, because, you know, you've got your good and your bad days too. But yeah, I still hope I make it to 104 without being dependent on anybody. Like we were saying, being independent and having all my senses as well. So, would you say that inside you feel like a different age? Like, do you sometimes almost surprise yourself when you look in the mirror and say, "Oh, I can't believe I'm this age. I don't feel like it."
I feel 30s inside.
I would agree. I feel like nothing has really changed since then.
I feel more like 50s. I've
how I
I've
feel.
always felt young.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I think I can't believe I have some physical limitations because I just don't think about age. It never occurs to me. Just recently that because I'm never sick, I don't even have a thermometer in my house. And then this sinus infection hit me, and I thought, golly, I'm 90 years old. It's like, when did that happen? You know, it happened while I was sleeping.
Yeah. No, sometimes, we played a game years ago, a group of friends, and they said, shout out the number that you think you are, the age you think you are. And it was amazing. At that time, I was probably 50, and I shouted out 30. And I feel that way now. I would probably shout out 50 if I had to do it spontaneously, because I always feel good. So I never think of age, and I many times said, I wish we didn't have birth certificates, because if you didn't know how old you were, you wouldn't focus on it, and other people wouldn't. So,
And I had just read a story recently about that. And yeah, I think that's true. If you don't know, if you just forget the number and you're just thinking
right.
of life and how you feel and what you want to do, what you like to do.
You wouldn't feel constraints because of age. You wouldn't feel limited on what you can do. You would do what you're able to do physically, and if you couldn't, you wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Do you think there's something that a community could do better to help us at different ages feel more valuable? Is there anything that, we've talked about like how a culture looks at us at different ages. Any recommendations other than more shows like this?
No, thank God for people like you in your profession that appreciate aging instead of, I don't know, they kind of frown at you or want, like my sister said, they want to help you if they know how old you are. If they don't know, they treat you like one of the group. In my profession, nobody thought about how old anybody was. You had a job to do, you did it, and no one said, oh, you can't do that, you're 80 years old, So, I don't know how to change the culture of thinking about older people.
Well, I gotta say kudos to Delta, right?
Well, they're not allowed to legally. Pilots have to retire at 65. Flight attendants, I was with Northwest originally before we merged. We had a flight attendant at Northwest that was well into his 90s, but they kind of forced him out by having him do certain things that he could not physically do anymore. If you can't perform your safety duties, then they can get rid of you.
And that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
I don't want someone that can't open a door in an emergency working with me. So, no, I kind of think as long as you're physical, keep going.
That's right. But at what point does acceptance maybe come in, where you say, all right, there's certain things I'll fight, I'll keep struggling, I'll keep doing, and other things, I'm going to let that go. I'm going to accept I just don't do that well anymore, can't do it. Have you thought much about
I
that?
think it's a process that along the way, you make smaller adjustments as you need to. I love to garden, but I don't plant in the ground as much. I use hanging baskets more. Just smaller things to lighten the workload.
Like adaptability then,
Yeah, right,
rather than acceptance.
right.
I give myself permission to not overdo sometimes. I overdo most of the days, but a lot of times I'll tell myself, you have permission. I give myself permission. I'm giving you permission to just lay on the couch for a while. Or I've been doing a lot of that these last couple of weeks, but ordinarily I look at the couch and think, gosh, I'd like to lay there for a while, but I don't have time. But now I give myself permission to not do as much some days or skip something that could be done another day, or don't wash my floors as often as I used to. things like that.
I would say I really wanted to maintain that I had a nice size house that a lot of people would come over to and they enjoyed it a lot. And the maintenance and the upkeep and, you know, just the work that I had to put into it, I finally said, we need to move, we have to downsize. And that was it was a hard acceptance, but I had to give myself that because every weekend I spent working in the yard and cleaning, and it was just too much.
I would say for myself, I've accepted that I can't do everything. It's really a time constraint often. So I'm more willing to pay for some help now. I want a clean house, but I don't want to spend my time on that. And I want a really nice yard and garden, but I don't want to spend my time on that. So I've hired help in the last few years that I wouldn't have ordinarily.
Well, I kind of feel the way Jen does. I've reached the point in my house. It's not the house that I feel I'm spending too much time doing. It's the yard work. And you say you hire people. Good luck finding people that will come and do it. You call, yes, I'll be there next week, and then you wait. Now, should you call someone else, or should you wait for them? Should you call them again? It's the yard work that I'm forcing myself to spend more time in the yard, where before I could spend the whole day. Now, if I spend an hour and a half, I'll force myself to stay an extra half hour, weeding or whatever. And I can see the day coming, I'm going to say, heck with it. And I'm going to let it go. But, yeah.
But you know, the electronic era had a lot to do with that. You can't call the neighbor teenager anymore to mow your lawn. You can't find any kids to want to do that type of work or rake your
No, they're all
leaves.
busy with sports activities, which is fine. I don't criticize them for that, but it's still hard. I have someone cutting the grass. It's the weeding and taking care of the beds. So I'm close to what you did.
And I just recently thought, I think I'll move into a single house and move out of the apartment. I'll have a yard to work in. And I'm telling myself, you can do the yard work. You just tell yourself you can and you can. And I thought,
Well,
I
you
better
can come and
face
do
reality.
mine and decide whether you want to do that.
Oh, I decided to face reality and stay in the apartment.
I think that's great, though. You can always go over and make hers better.
Yeah, if I could physically, but
So, I know Jen has a big project she's working on, and so I want to talk about that because we're going to have Jen back on the show another time. And so think about any kind of projects you're working on, and we'll get to that. But for Jen, so Jen at 50, tell us.
I'm going to do a fitness show. Every 5 years, I do a figure competition where I have to get in a bikini and pose.
oh, good for you.
And it's not bodybuilding, it's more of a feminine look of just making sure your symmetry is there, basically. So I do this to stay disciplined, and being in the industry that I'm in, I know we're our own billboards for health and fitness. So I have had some interesting things occur where it's a lot harder now to lose the weight that I used to be able to shed like that. So I have to do a lot more cardio. It's tougher to put on the muscle than it was 5 years ago. I'm noticing a difference just in the 5 years. I can see.
We're all agreeing.
So it's a lot more work, and I'm also noticing too, you have to get on stage and you have to get spray paint, spray tanned and greased up. My skin is not as tight. So so it's been interesting, and I'm fighting with iron deficiency now that I never had before. You know, my D3's low, I'm more fatigued doing my workouts. I struggle more doing the box jumps and the high plyometrics that I used to do. So I'm learning to give myself a break and say, it's okay. You don't have to do the box jump. You can do a step up and not have your knees hurt for 3 days. So it's a new realization, having a 5-year lapse and stepping into this again. I'm 5 months in of training for this show for next year, and
we're going
It's
to have
next
her
year,
back.
so, oh my
Oh, it
God.
takes me a
We've
year.
got some pictures from the beginning, and she just sent me actually another one today, which is making amazing progress. So, yeah, we'll be seeing Jen on this show again.
Oh, wow.
How about you, Marielda? Any projects you have going? Anything that like takes you into the future that you look forward to?
Not really, just going to start crocheting hats for cancer patients. I used to quilt hats for cancer patients and make quilts for cancer patients when I lived in Arizona. And I haven't been doing too much sewing since I moved back here. I'm too busy getting out and finding out what's going on around the country or the city and doing things,
All right.
fun things.
But that's a great project.
Our other sister says my life is nothing but fun now. For me, she says she's got so much work to do, and here I am having fun. Well, I feel I earned it.
That's right.
Exactly.
Any projects, Ellie?
I'm not an artsy craftsy person. I wish I was. I walk through Michael's or Joann's and I think, oh, I wish I could do that. And then I used to try them and they would be disasters, so I stopped. But I do knit, and I'm going to knit a scarf. And my grandson, Aid, he has an illness, and she taught me how to do, which is not common around here, wrapping fabric. You cut strips around a clothesline rope. It's very popular up there. And then you sew them together. I can't describe it. But anyway, I'm going to try that. And then I volunteer at the Village Project, where there's 3 stages. Either you go in and prep food, or you work with the teenagers the high school kids that come in and cook, or you clean up, and they deliver meals to cancer patients. And so that is probably the biggest project I have, is doing that. So
That's wonderful.
that's it. I don't have any other goals of any kind other than staying alive and staying healthy.
That's a big one.
So Lynn and I, we both are working toward starting in October. You'll be so proud of us. We're just going to work on butts, legs, abs for the month of October, and then we're going to decide what we want to do for the month of November after that. But we're going to really see if we can make some big body changes in a month. We'll see what happens with that. That goes beyond our yoga and our strength and balance and that. Do you have anything else that...
I too am into knitting. I'm part of a prayer shawl ministry at my church, and we knit for that, and also for the grandkids. I've got another baby blanket now to knit.
Because we have another one coming any minute.
Right.
Yes.
So,
All right. Well, we've gone a little over on this show, but I've just enjoyed this so much. And I think you ladies are just so filled with wonderful information and things to say. So we'll wrap it up, though, with asking, what is your secret to aging gracefully? Let's have everybody take a turn.
Mine is keeping busy, keeping active, mentally and physically, and just not thinking about the actual age. I just think keep busy and keep active, and have a good outlook, and try to help somebody else if you can, whenever you can. But it keeps your mind off of age, it keeps you thinking of other things and positive things. That's all I could think of, is that keep yourself, keep concentrating on other people, other things, and not on age.
I love it.
There should be no limits to what you can do because of age.
Thank you.
I would say happiness, and that 2 parts to that. And I would say the first part is finding time for yourself and giving you those special moments to read that book, go sit at the park, watch the water, or anything that brings you joy. And I think the second part of that, which is just as important, is finding happiness and enjoying relationships and other people, and maybe even people you don't know, but really embracing the love and the friendships that you can have in others.
Love it. Ellie?
Pretty much the same thing. I find keeping a positive attitude, even if, especially days that are gray and you start feeling down about it, I go down to Cahoon Park virtually every night to see the sunset. And now that the earth has moved, I don't see the sun go down, but I see the beautiful colors in the sky. Keeping a positive attitude, trying to keep healthy and a pleasant frame of mind, and trying to avoid negative people that pull you down.
I think that was well said, because we can stay positive to a degree, but someone else can suck you down
Yes.
pretty easily, so
Yes.
don't allow it.
You know, we're so fortunate living near the lake the way we are. I go down at least once a week, at the very least, once a week, and just watch the water, the seagulls, the children. I love it when there are children there and watch children play and build with the debris of the trees that have fallen, and they'll drag logs along to make themselves a little bridge or a moat or whatever. And
Fun.
just don't get wrapped up in yourself all the time or problems or anything negative. I think it's a good idea to get out of yourself, and that going to the lake does that for me.
I agree.
I would say keeping active, doing things that you enjoy, eating right, drinking lots of water, just being around people that you enjoy being with.
That's great. And I guess for myself too, quiet time has been super important to me all my life. I love being social, but I love to retreat as well. So I too spend a lot of time at the water until it turns to ice. And I love my writing as well. It's always kind of kept me looking forward and analyzing what I like and don't like and keeping me on path. So thank you, ladies, so much. I am so appreciative of your time here today, and I couldn't have picked a better group for today. I think that you're just beautiful souls, inside and out. Thank you so much for being here.
You're so welcome.
And to my viewers, thank you so much for being here. And if you haven't been to my website yet, please go to www.aginggracefully.tv, where you can watch this episode over and over again if you'd like. But I also have some really nice, quick to read articles on health and well-being, keep you in the right frame of mind. And if you have any ideas for a show, maybe a person you know that's interesting, or maybe it's you, don't be shy and just let me know. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.